everybody, what's going on? Tyler here with Boost Junkie Media, and today I just wanted to bring you a video. I know it's been a couple weeks since I brought you anything really. Had a lot of stuff going on with the car, and honestly just the weather has not been great. It's a little bit more difficult in the cold weather to really make any great content or great videos, and I didn't want to bring anything that wasn't, up to snuff, so that just mixed in with life, it's sometimes just hard to get a video put out. But we had some pretty cool things going on with the car. So as you all know, my car is Whipple charged, and it's been making over 700 at the crank for about a year, almost a year and a half, and it's been on the stock clutch. So the whole time it's been on the stock clutch. The clutch is actually held in pretty well. I don't beat on the car a whole lot, but I do drive the car aggressively from time to time. And the clutch has held up pretty well, but I'm starting to feel like maybe the clutch was starting to slip a little bit. Just based on the way the car was driving and the way the car felt, I felt like it was time. And I had bought a new clutch for the car last year, actually, around Black Friday, around this time of year, just knowing that I would eventually need a clutch. And finally decided to put it in. So what we did was put in a McLeod RXT, the 1,000 horsepower flavor of clutch, and that's what I did last weekend. So this video is going to be a little bit odd because I've actually already done what we're talking about, and just due to time constraints, it was really difficult to film the video and talk about the things while we were doing it. So I figured this would be the best way, would just be to film the content and then talk about it a little bit with you. So the purpose, as I said, was the clutch was slipping a little bit, so I decided to go ahead and swap it out. The equipment was the, like I said, McLeod RXT, 1,000 horsepower, and then while I was at it, since the transmission got to come out of the car, I figured perfect time to do a shifter. As some of you may know, the MT82 is the 6-speed transmission in these cars, and it features a remote-mounted shifter instead of the shifter actually mounting directly on top of the transmission and manipulating the linkage directly inside. The linkage actually sticks out on the back side of the transmission, and the shifter is remote mounted behind the transmission, and the stock one's actually body mounted to the body of the car, and there's the linkage that connects to the shifter, and that's how it manipulates the shifts. So with that being said, the shifter is kind of a big pain in the butt to do with the transmission in the car. So I figured, hey, perfect time to do the shifter swap while the transmission is out of the car. So I decided to go with a Barton Hybrid 3 shifter, which is an amazing shifter. I actually had the privilege of talking with the folks from Barton a couple of years ago at the American Muscle Mustang show up in Pennsylvania, and they were super friendly. They showed me everything about the shifter, really took their time to really explore the shifter and show me, how it worked and all the different options, and that you could trans mount it, you can body mount it, you can add springs, remove springs to increase the gate pressure left to right, all that kind of stuff. Thought that was really cool. Not to mention everything with the Barton is made in the United States. Nothing is outsourced overseas, nothing is sent overseas to be worked. Everything is machined and manufactured right here in the good old US of A. So I thought that was definitely a cool thing. So I decided to go with that shifter. As far as the location, this was at a friend of mine's house, and his name's Josh, and he actually has a channel called The Underground Garage. I'll put a link up to that on the screen so you guys can go check that out. But super cool dude, he's been my best bud since, I don't even know, probably 2000 or so we met. Super cool dude, very knowledgeable on cars. So he operates out of, as he always says in his videos, an undisclosed location in North Carolina. So with me being here in Virginia, it's within a drive to head down there and have him help me out with the clutch. And it was an awesome weekend. We had a lot of fun, and there's actually going to be some more videos coming from that weekend, so stay tuned to that. We just had a good time, and he's working on a pretty awesome project as well. So I'll be going back down there sometime here in the near future to finish working up on his car. We're really trying to get that thing started and get it going for him. So it's been a project in the making, and yeah, so there'll be more to come on that. So, without saying too much else, I guess we'll get right into some of the time lapse of the video. So what you're going to see initially here is, in order to install the clutch and everything, you have to have a way to hold the front of the motor, to hold the motor from turning over. So in the beginning of the video, what you're going to see is we're removing the front underbody cover from underneath the car. And we did this so that we could put a wrench on the crank bolt and hold the crank from spinning over as we're tightening down the clutch. So you'll see Josh up front, he's holding down that. You'll see me working on the clutch, and what I'm doing, I'm putting up the new flywheel. The first disc, it is a twin disc clutch, there's two discs, so there's the first disc, then there's a floater ring, and then there's a second disc, and then the pressure plate goes on top of everything. So that's what you'll see me doing. From there on, then you'll see a little bit more. We'll cut back to probably to me, and we'll talk a little bit more about the next step going forward. But for right now, that's what you're going to see. And so yeah, here we go. Guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little time-lapse clip. And as you saw, like I said, what we were doing there, on the second go around here, there's going to be some more. And on this part, what we're actually doing is putting the transmission back in the car. You see, we move the camera under the car, and we start slowly, going very slow. And honestly, this was one of the easier, I would say, clutch installs as far as putting the transmission back in as I've done. It's super awesome having a lift. And a transmission jack to manipulate the transmission, and it actually just went right in, no issues. So yeah, that's what you'll see. You'll see the transmission, you'll see us starting to slowly put it up in the car. Once we get it up in, we'll tighten it all down, and then we start putting everything back together. We start putting the exhaust back together, the cross member bolts. There's just a lot of stuff under the car you've got to take apart to get to the transmission. So that's what you're going to see in this next little upcoming clip. Hope you enjoy. back from that clip, and finally the last little segment you're going to see here is basically we've got the car pretty much all done. We put it down on the ground and we're actually running a new clutch cable. So one of the upgrades that you can do when you do the clutch on these cars is the stock factory cable is it's a hard line, but it's a plastic hard line. So a good upgrade is to swap that out for a stainless steel braided line. It could be a Steeda. I think McLeod makes one, but I went with the Steeda line. And it's real simple. It's just a quick clip into place. The old ones pop out with some clips, and you pop the new one in, and it just helps with the clutch pedal. And that stock line will not expand this way because it's no longer there. The braided steel line won't expand. So it really should help with the feel of the clutch itself and the clutch pedal. So that's the whole point of it. Plus, it's just less likely to fail. The stock factory stuff is plastic, and it could fail. So yeah, so that's what you're going to see in this next clip. Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, well, welcome back, and that was the last of the little time-lapse segments that we had. And so here in a few minutes, I'm just going to go ahead and end this video up, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. There was a couple of lessons learned with doing this clutch install, and the biggest and foremost thing that really could have become an issue for us, and maybe this was my bad for not doing more research on it, but what I did was I followed actually one main video on the internet, and I'm not going to mention what video it was, just because I don't want to call anybody out. But in the main video that I followed, towards the end, they talk about the bleeding process of bleeding the clutch. And there was no mention anywhere of what the state of the car, as far as running versus not running, should be in. And with a hydraulic system, typically, you know, a hydraulic is a hydraulic is a hydraulic. It will work as long as you have something to actuate the hydraulic. The hydraulic piston will do its job and will operate whatever you're working on. So we really think much of it. So the steps are to pump the clutch basically a bunch of times to basically bleed the air out of the system. The system's kind of a self-bleeding system. So that's what we did. So we pumped the clutch like 200 times and never got a clutch back, never got an actual pedal back. So we were scratching our heads, didn't know what was going on. We were really about to start tearing the car back apart to find out what was going on. And finally, it kind of just dawned on us that maybe the car, for some reason, needs to be running. And that was just not mentioned in anywhere that I had seen. And so that's what we did. We actually fired up the car and started redoing the clutch presses, and sure enough, within about 30 or so presses, the pedal started to come back. And within probably 100, 150 pedal presses, it was fairly back to normal. It was still a little bit soft, a little bit weird. And I would say it took a couple of days of driving the car to really for it to start really coming back and really feel, you know, 100% like it was stock. So that was just one of the big issues that could have become a bigger issue if we had actually started to tear the car back apart because we thought there was a problem. The other issue we had was kind of odd with the clutch, and I don't think it was anything wrong with the clutch or anything to do specifically with the clutch. In fact, I know it wasn't. Was when we were putting up the pressure plate, you have to put down a flat washer and then a lock washer, and then you have a nut that goes over a stud. And when we were torquing down the pressure plate, for some reason, one of the lock washers started to open up and actually started to digging into the flat washer pretty heavily, and it actually squashed the lock washer out from underneath the nut. And it was just very odd. I've just never had that happen before with a flat washer, lock washer nut setup. And luckily we caught it, and we're able to take that one back apart, and we've got a new lock washer and a new flat washer, put it all back together and torqued it down, and it was fine, no problem. So, but that could have been a kind of a big deal if we wouldn't have caught it. Luckily it wasn't stopping at the torque spec like the other ones did. And so we started looking at it and then noticed that the lock washer was really being heavily compressed. And it was squeezing it out of out from underneath the stud. So I don't know why that was. I've never seen that before. But just something to look out for if you guys are going to tackle something like this on your own, is just make sure that, you know, that something like that weird doesn't happen, just because you never know, and you don't want something minor like that to cause you an issue down the road. And then the other thing I just want to mention is, like I already kind of touched on, if you're looking to do this, this is a great time to do a shifter. The shifter installs in these cars, it's not impossible with the transmission and everything in, but it was a lot easier with the transmission out. So if you're thinking about doing a clutch, or you need to do a clutch, and you want to do a shifter, get the shifter, do it all at the same time. It just really helps out, really makes it less hassle, and you can knock out two things at one time and just be done with both and not have to worry about it in the future. So with that being said, guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Give me a subscribe to the channel. There's definitely going to be more stuff to come, like I'm always saying, and that's the truth. There will be more stuff to come. There's actually some more from this weekend to come, and I'm just waiting to release that video, so there'll be some more of that, and probably some more with, like I said, Josh's car. And like I already mentioned, go check out his channel. I'll put a URL up for you guys to go see. Go check it out. Great dude, super smart, and working on an awesome project that should be really freaking cool when he is done. So yeah, you guys enjoyed the video? Please give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you around.